Welcome back to another episode of Caps Off by, who is it by, Felipe?
The game day.
The game day. All right. Week
Hell
6
yeah.
is in the books. It's Fantasy Recaps Day, Fantasy Recaps morning. I know there's been a lot of people on Twitter that have actually been asking for a lot of fantasy advice. We've been looking through a lot of the comments on Apple and Spotify, and there's a ton of comments about fantasy. So thank you, everyone, for giving us a rating. It means a lot, even though we might disagree with some of the kind gestures.
There's too much kindness there.
There's a lot of kindness.
I don't know if it's justified, but I mean, I appreciate it.
Why
I
is
also
it not
appreciate. Why is it not justified? Because we're pretty dumb. But no, actually, Adam does put in a lot of research, and I just know ball, so I can talk on my ass and actually just know ball. But I will say this: there was a fan yesterday that commented or just replied to something on Twitter. I think he just tagged all of us and whatever it was. Yeah. He thought you were a Cowboys fan.
I am a Cowboys fan.
Welcome to Cowboys Nation, Adam.
Thank you.
And it's naturally going to lead into us talking about CeeDee Lamb. So, I mean, that's wonderful.
I do think I've been a Cowboys supporter and enthusiast.
You have been for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, like I bought stock late, but I still own the stock, right?
Yeah, right.
It depreciates just like goes up and down. But this week it's appreciating a little bit.
I don't know how much.
Slightly, maybe like a cent.
But some fantasy stock for CD.
Absolutely.
Confirmation on what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And even like Dak looked pretty good too. I mean, you're probably not even starting Dak at this point, but hey.
Yeah, well, hey, shout out to people watching across social media. I see you guys on YouTube right now. Josh Pilecki, Ryan. What's up, guys? Make sure to drop any fantasy questions you might have. We're going to do our best to answer them. Obviously, this is a recaps episode for fantasy. So looking back on what happened and what that means for the future. And then as a reminder, if you want to do any DFS, yeah, you like that? It was a weird clap. If you're into DFS, make sure to go to thegame.com/promotions. We got all the best DFS offers. So make sure to tune into that and check that out. Also, if you're watching from anywhere else but YouTube, go to our YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Means a lot to support us. And we're also doing a giveaway where if you've been following us on social media, you would see as the CTA at the end.
Correct.
But if you go to either Apple or Spotify, if you're new here, and give us a rating and then go back to our latest video and comment 5 stars, you will then be entered to win a free NFL jersey of your choice.
And I will say that's all we said to do. Like, that's all you have to do, leave a rating and then comment 5 stars on one of our videos. But we've been getting a lot of reviews as well.
Great reviews.
On the podcast platforms themselves. So if you do that, you might get a leg up, I think. We never said that, but like kind of seems that way now. I mean, the cream rises to the top, right?
Yeah, yep. That's how it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so today we're going to go through a couple things. We're going to talk, obviously, Cowboys-Chargers recap.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about my guy, Raheem Mostert. There's a sleeping top 5 wide receiver going on right now. Another rookie tight end in the mix. We'll do some stock up, stock down. We'll talk about who's the best fantasy player this year.
Bingo.
And hopefully we can answer some questions and get out of here in 30 minutes. But yeah, let's start with your team. Let's start with actually my team. What am I saying?
Right.
Cowboys-Chargers recap. CeeDee Lamb's back, brother.
Yeah, well, yeah, he never left. But look, like you talked about it. Mike McCarthy's still a problem. And the fact that he's still a problem and not putting this offense in the best position to succeed, and CeeDee Lamb is still getting his targets, that's great. This game, we saw him get more targets than he's been getting in the past, and that's what you want for a receiver like that. You want him to get volume, you want him to get looked at and get the ball thrown to, and Dak looked more mobile. That helps out CeeDee Lamb if he can move in the pocket, find him in open places, and CeeDee was able to benefit off of that. So we've been saying, don't sell CD low, if anything, don't sell him low. If anything, buy him low.
Yep.
Because he's going to improve his performance. He's going to start getting more targets because they're going to have to if the Cowboys want to win. Guess what? They got him more targets. The Cowboys won, and I just see that being a consistent thing for him going forward.
Yeah, I mean, look, CeeDee Lamb hit 7 receptions, 7 targets, 117 yards. Good things happen when he has the ball in his hands, right? Like the offense felt better. I think if you've been following along this whole season, the thing we've been saying, the number one reason why we would overreact to certain weeks or underreact is based off of how the offense performs, right? So obviously the first 5 weeks, the Cowboys were blowing out teams. Now, granted, against the Niners, they had to throw more. He didn't get involved. But for the most part, they were blowing out teams. And the one week that he did perform, I think, was that Cardinals week, where it was a closer game. So in closer games, we know that the Cowboys are going to have to feed CeeDee Lamb. I still agree with you with that. Mike McCarthy is holding that offense back. Like having a Kellen Moore would have been a lot more beneficial because you could see it in Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
But there were also points left on the board last night. I was down like 60 points going into last night. I had Keenan Allen, I had Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, and Cameron Dicker. And then Dicker the kicker. And then he had Austin Eckler, and I lost by 5 points.
That sucks.
Because CeeDee Lamb had a touchdown. Dak missed him because Dak's trash. But Dak missed him, and there were points left on the board. So I think great days are ahead for CD. Hopefully you were able to buy him while people were panicking. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Tony Pollard? Because Tony Pollard wasn't great. He had one long reception that kind of bailed out his performance.
Absolutely. I'm actually legitimately concerned about Tony, not because of Tony, but because of this. It's the offense. The offense is not the receiving game isn't good. Like the passing game isn't good. The run game also isn't good. Yes, the passing game got better yesterday, and CD actually got targets. Just real quick before we even dive into Tony, there was some talk on the broadcast last night with Troy and Joe. Obviously, Troy, certified ball knower.
Yep.
But just talking about how CeeDee Lamb in the past few years, he's been used in the outside more, and like his rookie years was more when he was in the slot in his second year. So like last year, the year before is when he really started to pop off. He was on the outside more. So this year they really McCarthy wanted to put him in the slot a lot more.
I like that.
But that wasn't beneficial to his numbers, actually. Like, it was actually hurting him, and Dak wasn't finding him, whatever it may be. Yesterday he was more on the outside. So, like, the majority of the plays, he was actually on the outside. They were moving him more, but he was more on the outside, and he produced more. So, I think, like, that's just the offense clearly trying to fix whatever's going wrong. Yeah. Like, they're like, let's find out how we can get CD the ball. If it means we need to put him on the outside more, then, like, let's do that. And it was beneficial. So, they're game planning for him, I guess is, like, my main point. With Tony, the run game hasn't been there all year at all. Like Tony, I don't know if he's had a 100-yard rushing game yet. I don't think he has. And last night he only had like 30 rushing yards, I think, something like that. Against
2 yards per carry, 15 attempts, 30 yards.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. That was a guess too. There you go. And then the week before he had like 29 yards. So he's not running the ball well, but the offensive line isn't protecting well. Yes, they've been hurt, but even healthy, these schemes aren't working. Like it's just not. They're not putting him in a position to succeed. He's not the type of back to overcome that. He's not Derrick Henry who's going to will his way down and try to get like 5-6 a carry, even if he, could. He can't. So I'm actually worried about Tony. I don't know what to do. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Look, like I said, he was saved by that long reception. He still had 17 fantasy points. I'm going to keep Tony Pollard on like a buy low list just because talent and offense. Like I want a player like Tony Pollard from a good offense. And I think they will figure it out. You have the bye coming up, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, bye now.
And usually buys are like when you get obviously opportunities to fix things. So I do think better days are ahead for Tony Pollard, but it is slightly concerning. But on the other side of the ball, I mean, Keenan Allen, another incredible performance. Keenan Allen, I'm trying to pull up what he had. He was wide receiver 5 on the week. He had 7 receptions on 11 targets and 85 yards. He had 1 touchdown, 21.5 fantasy points. I mean, Keenan Allen is looking like one of the best fantasy wide receivers this year, right? We talked about it in that Kellen Moore, CeeDee Lamb type role.
Yeah.
He's just been incredible. He's a set it and forget it. I think rest of season, he has to be a top, at minimum, top 10 wide receiver. He's currently the wide receiver 4 on the year.
Damn.
So, yeah, man, Keenan Allen, you got to be happy with him, and could have had another touchdown, right? So,
yes, Herbert missed him like twice on some deep ones, and he's still balling. I think it's what you said. Like, it goes back to the good offense. Like, if you worried about CeeDee Lamb, it was because of the offense. But with the Chargers, you see Keenan Allen perform. The offense is also helping him out. And so, like, buy Keenan. It's probably hard right now, but Keenan is that dude, and he's in a good offense who feeds him the rock.
Yeah, I want to move into the next one that, it's Raheem Mostert, right? Like the Dolphins running back continues to shine. Currently the RB2 in fantasy behind CMC. Another massive week. Obviously, when Achane went down, you kind of knew this was going to happen. I think rest of season, and it's not that I want to trade Raheem Mostert. I think I still need to try and sell high on him. Because at 31 years old, he's had an injury history.
Yeah.
Jeff Wilson was inactive. And I'm not going to say that any running back could be Raheem Mostert. Like, he has 11 touchdowns, right? Like, there's no denying how incredible he's been. But he might be in the prime sell high spot, knowing that Achane is out, right? Like, because I think so many people, if Achane was still in, people would be like, well, who's going to get the ball? But Mostert, the rest of the year, is going to be, as long as he's healthy, the 1A. I think no matter what, even with Achane there, I'm going to try and sell high on Raheem Mostert. Look, if I could flip a Raheem Mostert for a Travis Etienne, I'm going to do it. What are your thoughts?
What would be the package that you would consider that in, though? Like,
well, it would depend. It depends, because I think it's really hard for someone to want to take. Why would you trade Travis Etienne after another amazing game?
Yeah.
The offer I would try and look to send is, can I swap the two and go for a wide receiver? Gotcha. So let's say Raheem Mostert and let's just say I was going to say
let's just say a wide receiver.
Let's just say a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And then I can get back ETN and like maybe that person has Marquise Brown. I'm giving an example in my league.
Okay.
Who Hollywood Brown has been good. I don't trust it as much, but like if I can get that surefire running back, it's been a lot easier to find wide receivers in fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm saying with Raheem Mostert.
I feel you. I mean, right now, HN gone, like, bro, he's going high right now. Like, his value is through the roof. And he continues to ball out. And the Dolphins offense, they're going to show up every single week. That's one thing that for sure. The past couple offenses we've been talking about, Dallas don't know if they're going to show up. You just hope they game plan for this guy that's like a CeeDee Lamb. The Dolphins, they're going to show up. If Mostert's that guy, he's that guy there. He's going to get his. What you do have to worry about is injury history, which is like with another guy like Christian McCaffrey, right? The past before last year, it's like he was the first guy taken for those 2 years before last year. And in both years, I think 1 year he played 4 games, another year he played the next. So you kind of see, you have to be cautious with a guy like that. And when they start performing heavy, it's kind of the time to start looking around, seeing people that are going to be kind of overzealous there. They're going to really want a guy like Mostert. They might need a running back. Maybe one of their guys got hurt. And give him to him and try to get something like big in return, because there's a likelihood that he could get hurt. And if he does get hurt, you want to be ahead of that.
Yep. I'm totally with you. One quick fun fact on the Dolphins. Achane obviously missed the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
He missed last week. Still currently the RB6 in fantasy.
That's so stupid.
He has 38 attempts. Everyone in the top 10 has more than 80.
Do you know what he's averaging per carry?
Per carry, yards per attempt.
Yards per attempt?
Yards per carry is 12.1.
No, see, that's absolutely ridiculous.
It's insane. It's insane. He has 101 fantasy points on the year. He's averaging 25 fantasy points per game. RB6.
Look, for context, and I know it's not the same because, he's getting limited usage and stuff like that, and so he's able to make more out of less. But the most yards per carry ever is Jamal Charles, and I believe it's around 5.5.
Well, the regression to the mean.
Oh, he's going to go down.
Yeah,
he's going to go down.
Yeah.
I'm just saying how insane 12.1
is. It's crazy.
It's absolutely ridiculous. It's not just because he's not only breaking long ones. He's getting, everything he breaks seems to be a long one, honestly. Of course. But it's consistent for him. It's not one long one with, a few carries that are 2, 3. Nah, it's a 60, a 15.
It's insane. It's insane.
An 8, a 23. He's a dog.
Moving into our next thing I want to talk about is obviously a wide receiver, a white wide receiver specifically, who has been in his Duffy.
I love him.
He is a guy that embodies consistency.
Yes.
There's only 3 players that have outscored Adam Thielen since week 2. Can you guess those players?
Oh shit. Okay. Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill is not on that list.
No. Interesting. This includes, what were you gonna say?
This includes quarterbacks.
Oh my God. Damn.
Guess the 3 players that have outscored Adam Thielen in fantasy.
Mostert
since week 2. Raheem Mostert is one of them.
Puka
Nakua is not on this list.
Well, shit. Not Jefferson because he missed it.
Jettis is out. It's not Tyreek.
Man, I don't know. Tell me.
I'll give you a hint. All right. There's no more skill players.
Okay, so quarterbacks.
But let before you jump into those quarterbacks, think about how crazy that is.
That's
only 3
insane.
players in fantasy have been able to outscore Adam Thielen since week 2.
That doesn't make sense.
Is a skill player. The other 2 are quarterbacks, and quarterbacks are heavily skewed to outscore.
So who are the QB1 and QB2?
The first quarterback is Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And the second is actually Jalen Hurts.
Right. Okay. Even after a bad game. That's absolutely insane.
Adam Thielen has outscored every other quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end in fantasy since week 2. He is a sleeping giant. The key is as consistent as it gets. I never would have thought I would have.
Proof.
He's quarterback
Dare
proof.
I say.
Yeah. Because it's matchup proof also, right? Because no matter what, he's in the slot, like you said with CeeDee Lamb.
He's going to get his.
However, as I've always said in fantasy,
what?
Regression to the mean eventually happens. I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 the whole year. I am looking to sell high and see what I can get for Adam Thielen.
I'm not.
Why?
Because he's outperformed. We've talked about name value a lot in the past. Some guys, they could be playing bad, and Justin Jefferson could have a few bad weeks, and just because of his name, you're not going to be able to buy him low. You're just not going to be able to. And Adam Thielen's the opposite. That's crazy. That's insane. I didn't even know that, right? But people don't buy the hype, especially with Adam Thielen. I'm sorry, his race definitely does play a part. He's a white wide receiver.
I traded Adam Thielen, so I greatly messed up. Yep.
But like he's as good of a wide receiver as it gets, as a wide receiver.
Yeah, you said white, but
as a wide receiver. No, he's great. He's a wide receiver 3. But I think like all of that, he's boring. He's your stereotypical guy that is gonna get you your catches. He's gonna beat you on the slide. He's gonna get you inside, outside. So he's gonna get his volume, but he's not a game breaker.
Yeah.
And guys, I think especially a lot of people in fantasy and like your league mates, they would prefer a game breaker. They would prefer a Cooper Kupp, like because the difference between Cooper Kupp and Adam Thielen is that Cooper Kupp will house it.
Yeah.
He will house something for 60 yards. Like Thielen won't really do that at this point in his career. Yeah, he did it back in the past with Stephon and Kirk Cousins probably, but he's just not that guy anymore. He's that consistent guy. He's gonna kill you across the middle. Those like 10-yard ins, 10-yard outs, slants. That kind of thing. And I just don't think like name value wise, you're going to get in return what he's going to provide for you.
Agree. But if you could put, even though I don't want to get rid of Thielen for what he's done, if there's a chance to go land a Tyreek, a Jamar Chase, I'm just going to bet on talent any given Sunday. I know that he's been consistent. I know that he can likely stay consistent. I just want a better player on a better team.
I get that.
And a better offense.
Look, bro, like, yeah. Like you tell me, do I want a Ferrari right now? I'd probably say no. You tell me it's like $10,000 instead of $2 million, then yeah, I want it.
Yeah,
but it's like the value. Like if you say like Jamar Chase, yeah, for sure. If you can get Jamar Chase and you can package him somehow, package Thielen somehow to get Jamar Chase because they're high on Thielen and whatever they think makes sense, I would rather do that too.
Yeah.
I just don't think that that's necessarily happening because Thielen doesn't have the same name value.
That's fair. That's a good point. Hey, good take. Bro.
Thanks.
Another person I want to quickly touch on is a rookie tight end, right? Like we've been talking about this being the best rookie tight end class in over a decade. Now, everyone has always pointed to like, well, we haven't had a rookie tight end be able to finish as a tight end 1 in fantasy, but that's because we haven't had this amount of talent coming out of the draft.
Facts. It's been a drought.
Well, there's a new one in the mix, and that's Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame. Yeah, yes. Notre Dame. In Vegas. Right, like kind of took over more of a role with Austin Hooper there. Austin Hooper had been kind of shadowing his ability a little bit, but hey, big day for Michael Mayer. I mean, if you need a tight end, I've been talking about Luke Musgrave, and Luke Musgrave hasn't returned enough. Obviously, his usage has been there, but Michael Mayer is a guy that the usage was finally there and the points matched up with it. You could throw a dart at him. He has low end tight end 1 right now. He's a streamer. I'm looking to pick up Michael Mayer. What are your thoughts on Mayer?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, this tight end class, this rookie tight end class is amazing. It's going to get better next year. I mean, you're going to have the greatest prospect ever, potentially, one of them.
Yep.
And Brock Bowers. And so, well, forget next year. We're talking about this year, right? Even though I love Dynasty.
Yep.
This year, you have a couple rookie guys that you're looking at. And, like, look, Kincaid didn't play this past week. He was hurt. Laporte been a dog in Detroit, but ain't no shot you're getting him because he's been on a roster. And so, yeah, like you said, if Mayer is a streamer right now and you can – he's on your waiver wire and you can grab him, go ahead. He's probably competing with some of those guys that you don't know that are up and down week to week, which is most tight ends. Yep. Outside of those top few tight ends, even some of the top tight ends like a George Kittle who can have a 3-touchdown performance like he did against Dallas and then puts up a dud the next week. You got to expect that dud from Kittle. It's coming. He's boom or bust. And so Mayer is like a legitimate consideration for a starting like on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, currently rostered in 3.2% of fantasy leagues, super low. And
what is he like tight end what though?
Well, he was tight end 5 on the week.
See, so that's
over a full season, he definitely doesn't break it. He hasn't done anything.
Yeah. That's good to see though. You like to see that, and
Michael Mayer's tight end 38 on the year,
but that's gonna go up.
Yeah,
and what you like to see is volume. We were watching that game. That was a 1:00 game, right? I believe because we were here in the office and it was one of the games. I believe that was.
No, I think it was a 4:00 game.
Was it 4:00? So I was watching
Patriots because it was Patriots Raiders.
Oh, that's right. Well, somehow I was watching it for some reason, and he was getting the ball a lot. He was getting zoom, or he was getting
Yeah, I think he had 6 receptions.
Yeah, he was getting a lot of volume, and so like that's
6 targets. Sorry, go for it.
6 targets. Yeah, he was getting a lot of volume, and so that's what you like to see going forward, especially for a tight end. Jimmy G coming off some bad performance. I mean, he hasn't been good this year. I don't know if he threw some picks this week, but I think going into this past week, he had like 6 or 7 interceptions, 6 maybe, and hasn't been great. So what does a guy like that look for? He looks for a security blanket, something that like he doesn't want to keep throwing picks. He's going to go to somebody that he can rely on. Obviously, he has Devontae Adams. Now that he found his tight end, that relationship I think is only going to grow. It's only going to blossom. And so Mayer's going to have at least consistent volume, and you can bank on some decent production from there on. So I think
yeah,
if he's tight end 38 now, he'll go up to
the only fear is obviously
20
Jimmy
maybe.
G, right? Like with the back injury, he went to the hospital.
Okay, yeah.
I do think Brian Hoyer might be better, like for him. I don't know why. There's just like that veteran presence. Obviously, Jimmy G's a veteran presence guy. But yeah, Michael Mayer, if you need a tight end, he's a guy that you could definitely stream. Let's move into a little stock up and stock down right now. Just a couple players whose stocks are improving after this week. A major one. First person on my list is obviously AJ Brown. I think he's got 4 straight weeks with 125 receiving yards. But the one thing I will say, even though his stock is rising in fantasy, I will not put him as a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy.
Why?
The reason I will not put AJ Brown as a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy is because his usage and his target share has been far higher over these last 4 weeks than what it's normally been with Devontae Smith. And as we've said many, many times, if the offense is flowing, if the offense is producing, then naturally you feel confident about that certain player. But the offense hasn't been flowing like it has in past, right? And naturally, Devontae Smith will need to be the benefactor of that target share coming down, and Devontae Smith's target share is going to increase. As you said, you benched Devontae last week. He was your fucking guy. You love Devontae. Yeah. I think Devontae is going to have better days, and that's why that will limit A.J. Brown being a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy. I will take Tyreek Hill over him. I will take Cooper Kupp over him. I will take Amon-Ra over him. I'm trying to think. I'll take Jamar Chase over him. Who am I missing? I think those are 5 right there. I will probably take... It's hard because it's hard to take Adam Thielen right now. I'll take Keenan Allen over him. I'll take Stephon Diggs over him right now. But he's right there
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Devontae Smith's naturally going to regress to the mean.
Yeah.
As you like to say. He's going to get better. And like you say, this offense is performing poorly right now, even though they're winning. And yeah, they just lost this week. But you have to switch things up when you're losing or when you're not performing to your highest level, especially as an offense. The one thing we know they have is their run game, which is strong. It wasn't this past week, but overall. And so other things are going to have to change, and Devontae Smith is going to have to get more involved. Yep. He didn't have a great week this week. And then he had a terrible week the week before. He's going to get back. AJ naturally going to regress a bit, but I think it's safe to say he's not going to be a top 5 wide receiver, but he's going to finish as a top 8 receiver. Like he's right outside there. He's right outside there. And so I like. If you have him, you're probably holding on. You're happy. Yeah. He's going to regress a bit, but you're okay with that.
Yeah, and look, AJ Brown's always going to be a boomer bust guy, right? Only on the basis of like the overall wide receiver 1 and a low end wide receiver 1. He will always have, because even if he has 4 receptions, he can go for 100 yards at any given moment. He's one of the most talented. I just don't think he's a top 5 wide receiver because Devontae Smith's usage is going to need to come up if that offense wants to improve. A few other stock ups. Obviously, we talked about Raheem Mostert. We talked about Michael Mayer. Amon-Ra is back up. A massive day. I think he had 12 targets. 2 main guys. So Ramondre Stevenson found the end zone. Way better this week. Like we've said, the running backs, it's weird right now. So being able to see Ramondre produce, it's obviously, it's something that you want to be happy with on your team. The other person is CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah,
obviously stock up on CeeDee Lamb. You have any quick stock ups before we jump into stock down?
I mean, look, bro, like, we talked about Ramondre. I kind of want to talk about that because we always said, like, don't panic on a guy like this because the running back landscape is so bad. And still don't. Like, other guys who are lower right now, running backs, like, maybe kind of like we talked about with Tony Pollard. Like, they're going to get in the end zone. They're getting usage. They're going to get in the end zone. They're going to get more points. And it's just a matter of time. So Ramondre's a perfect example of that. You got to, don't overreact to some bad weeks, especially when the offense is playing poorly. They're going to have to turn it around.
You know what? That's called when a person's been playing poorly, but naturally he will score touchdowns and the performance will improve.
What were you going to say?
Positive regression.
That's what I figured.
Bingo.
All right.
A few stock downs on that. Well, and just context quickly. I threw up positive regression a couple weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, and you and Scott both looked at me like I had 5 eyes, and I only have 4. Stock down. A few guys. Dameon Pierce. Look, I'm mixed feelings on Dameon Pierce. Obviously,
I hate him.
RB34 in fantasy right now in points per game. Currently a low end RB3. They have a bye, so luckily the bye's coming at the right time. If you're an owner of Dameon Pierce, I think they're going to get right. Their offense they're going to keep them in games, but stock down naturally. Devin Singletary outsnapped him. You hate to see that.
Yeah. I felt like we saw it coming. At least like I saw. You're a big Pierce guy. That's your favorite player of all time.
Yeah.
He wasn't producing on the carries he was getting before.
But he got stopped at the goal line twice, and that's an offensive line thing.
Are you talking about this game?
Yeah.
Yeah, but even the previous game before that week, are we in week 6 now?
Yeah.
We just finished week 6?
Yeah.
So in week 5, he was averaging 2.6 yards per carry. It's not great.
It's definitely not.
And he had 20 carries. So it's like, okay, at least he's getting all the carries. But at some point, you have to think as a coaching staff, like, we got to change something up. Like, we got to we need another running back that's going to provide a change of pace or whatever it may be, because 2.6 doesn't get it done. The fact they had 20 carries and like 80 yards or whatever, 80, I think it was 86, not good. And so that's kind of what we saw this week. 1 week later, they changed it up as an offense. You want to improve. You want to, improve that run game. And as far as Dameon Pierce goes, I don't have much faith in him this year. I think he produced last year in a position where we've seen that happen before, where like a late running back draft pick, right, comes into the team, like plays well in training camp, and then gets the boatload of the carries and just falls into a good situation where they just give him a lot of carries and he does well. And then the year after, he doesn't perform. We saw that with James Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
James Robinson had a great rookie year. There's a couple other guys that I can't think of off the top of my head, but whenever there's a late rookie running back or a late drafted rookie running back, the next year they tend to not perform at the same level, just because, I don't know, a lot of different factors. Maybe they're not, the offense is worse, or maybe they draft another guy. Maybe like the offense just changes a bit. That's all.
Yeah, that's fair. A few other guys before we begin to wrap up. Jahan Dotson, he's only had 30 yards in a game twice, failed to have more than 40 yards in a game all season. Jahan Dotson definitely stocked down. That offense looks bad.
But Jack loves Jahan Dotson, though.
But Jack loves Jahan Dotson.
Why Jahan Dotson?
And the last two, which are near and dear to both of our hearts, is Justin Fields and Calvin Ridley. Justin Fields is going to likely miss anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks with that finger. He dislocated it. And the reason his stock goes even down even further, that was on him. Like, he could have threw the ball away, could have checked it down. He went deep, and he got sacked, and that's why he got hurt.
Fuck me.
There's nothing you can do with Justin Fields. He's a hold. He's a waste on the. You got to bench him.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, Calvin Ridley. Look, since week 2, he has an 18% target share. That's 3rd on the team and 50th among all wide receivers.
So Christian Kirk is out.
Yeah.
Sharing him, however you would say. Who's the other guy? Shit, man.
But I will say this: he's still running a route on a ton of dropbacks. You could try and sell him based off of name value. I don't think you're going to get anything in return for him. I'm going to hold him. I have him on a few of my leagues. There's nothing else you can do, but it's definitely concerning. Obviously, that first week 1 blow up might just be a blip in the radar, but there's not much more to add. Those are some stock downs. Last but not least, before we wrap up, who has been the best fantasy player this week this year for you?
Best fantasy player before we head into questions. For me,
just like, who, in your opinion, has been the best player in fantasy this year? Shoot from the hip, shoot from the gonads.
All right, Puka Nacua.
Really?
Yeah, like, obviously he's not. I don't know where he is, but he's probably still a top 10 receiver, right now. Yeah. Just the fact that he's getting that type of volume, you love to see it. Like, a guy that can produce in that Rams offense is a guy that is usually targeted a lot because it's a product of the system, if you will. Like, Sean McVay is going to manufacture touches for a guy that can fit in the zones and that's smart enough to understand what's going on. That's what we saw with Cooper Kupp in his historic season. Puka also benefiting from that, but as a rookie, receivers tend to take a little bit longer to get adjusted, and Puka, like week 1, as a guy that was on nobody's radar, I think just like the factor of when you consider everything around him, the fact that he wasn't one of those top guys. If we would have seen Jordan Addison do that, it'd be like, all right, Zay Flowers, been good, cool. But Puka doing that, it's been impressive. So I'm gonna go Puka just because of like all the factors around that.
It's a good take. A few questions that I'm seeing on YouTube right now, I want to make sure we answer before we sign off. Ryan, yes, for some injury pickups. I just want to remind you, go to thegameday.com for any waiver wire pickups. That'll come from Frank Emirante and Scott Engel. Obviously, we have a few guys that you can target. Zach Evans is a big one with Kyron Williams and Ronnie Rivers being out. But make sure to go to thegameday.com to check out those waiver wire pickups. Timmy said, I have CMC. What should I do with him? My running backs are Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor. Look, I think you're holding on CMC. There's absolutely nothing unless you want to trade, but running backs are going to get injured. Injuries happen. You can maybe trade Josh Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor. Name value. Obviously, Anthony Richardson going down for the season is going to hurt his stock. That is Jonathan Taylor's, but I do believe better days are ahead. And last but not least, John Montez. I have Kupp and Diggs, but I have Ramondre Stevenson and Dameon Pierce as my RB1, RB2. Should I try and trade? Who should I trade for?
Who's his running backs?
Ramondre Stevenson and Dameon Pierce.
And his receivers are Kupp and Diggs?
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of need more context. I think you're like, okay. You should be fine, kind of. I like to know the depth you have, but Yeah, if I don't know more of your receivers or running backs, I don't know who you're trading. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna hold right now
Yeah.
because I think Dameon Pierce coming out of the bye, I want to see him. I think if you look at Fantasy Pros, they had Dameon Pierce as a buy low just because his value could not be any lower.
Yeah.
And naturally, we didn't expect the offense to be as good as it is. They are going to be in games. And Dameon Pierce is the more talented running back over Devin Singletary. We've seen a large enough sample size on Singletary. So I'm gonna trust that. I would hold. It's really hard. I have Dameon Pierce. I want him in my league too. He's really fucking me. So we'll hold together. But
all right, nice. Hold
hey,
hands.
that was a good, quick in and out fantasy episode.
Bingo.
Make sure to go to thegameday.com/promotions for any DFS offers. If you're into that, sleeper, underdog, prize picks, there's so many of them. So make sure to check out the best offers. Also, like I mentioned, waiver wire pickups. Go check out Scott Engel and Frank Amarante's articles on thegameday.com. They're doing some amazing stuff. They help us out tremendously. And last but not least, make sure to check out our cafeteria episode tomorrow that will come out. We had
AM.
Matty Betts on
Matty
it.
Betts,
Big better. So we're gonna talk some bets.
Yeah, if you like betting, I mean, Matt does it all, man. He's a big UFC guy, but he's a big football guy, big Eagles fan, and he has these parlays that he hitting, just I guess regular bets in general that he hits all the time. So he's gonna be giving some casual better advice. Like if you're just casual better, he's gonna like us.
Yep.
He's gonna give us some advice and like how we should bet in different ways, different things. So
well, hey. We will see you on Thursday live for Buy Low, Sell High episode. Stay golden, stay beautiful, and happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Bye.